Oh, and if everyone wants to, I'm going to turn on the captions as well. So more accessibility.
Before I share about my background, I'm gonna let Lee introduce themselves.
Hi, again, my name's Lee. I go by they, them pronouns, and I am from the Cayenne and Tobago, Tobago lands. Um,
Okobaga.
Tocobaga. And although I'm Afro-Indigenous, I'm not sure which part.
There's nothing wrong with that. We've all been displaced and are doing our best. Happy you're here.
Greetings, everyone. I see a lot of names that I've seen the last two sessions. There's probably maybe a couple of new faces in here, but I introduced myself, Lavender, pronouns she, they, her, hers. I just finished the process of transitioning from Muncie, Lenape, Hoking, so-called New York, Queens, to now Indokina, and just sharing space with Z, um, and hopefully a few others here. And so, yeah, it's nice to have movement. It's nice to be able to be present with you all in this way. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to our time tonight. I would like to start us off. I really wanted to kind of just open up the floor at first and just see, has anyone been able to use any of the techniques that we've been working through as far as like breathing, meditation. Um, yeah, if there's anything that anyone wants to share, maybe a quick personal example of maybe how they were able to use it outside of our time. Yeah, I'd love to hear. Or you can add it in the chat as well.
Hmm, that's a wonderful invitation.
I will say, I know during the breaks, like I have at work, I usually have like dedicate like 5 minutes where we're like deep breathing outside together, and it's usually a lot of fun. I like doing the technique where we're like alternating nostrils a lot. It's a lot of fun. I do it for like 3 to 5 minutes and go about my day. So, yeah.
We love to hear that,
Mm,
Lee.
mm,
Thank you for sharing.
mm.
And Emmett as well. The breathing exercises definitely seem like they've been helping some people here with us who have been experiencing stress. Um, I definitely, ooh, y'all, that move.
Mhm.
I had to take a couple of those throughout it. So, um, yeah. Anyone else want to share? Going once, twice. Cool. Well, thank you for all who shared. For others, um, we will at some point do this again in this session. We won't focus so much on it as like we have in the last two sessions, but there will be some time to make it accessible to those who've been practicing, to anyone who is new. I'll do like a quick queuing up, but yeah. Um, do we want new people to introduce themselves? I
Yeah,
didn't.
you're more than invited, verbally or in the chat. Or if there's just anything on your mind around the things that we're talking about or who you are, you're more than welcome to share.
Cool. So we are actually going to start with some meditation. Also shout out to everyone that I didn't see in the chat. Annabella, Keone, and Dakota. Um, so we'll spend about 6 minutes total in our meditation time to start. We'll spend 4 of those minutes breathing. And then I want us to spend 2 minutes setting some intention for this time together. So if you'd like, um, go ahead, you can close your eyes. If you want to turn any sort of mics off or your camera off, if that's allowed, um, then you can, if it'll help you focus in more. Um, but we are simply just going to do some box breathing. So um, if you're new to this, listen in. If you've done this or are familiar, you can kind of start on your own quietly. For those who are not familiar with the box breathing, it follows in seconds or like increments of 4 seconds. So you would be inhaling for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, releasing for 4 seconds, and then repeating as you go forth. We'll actually be talking at some point throughout the class, just a tidbit. Um, about this whole sort of flow. Uh, if this is your third class, then I think, it'll really drive in today. If you want to focus in even more on what we'll be discussing. So now that everyone knows what we're doing, I'm going to start the timer for us for 4 minutes. So you can go ahead and start now. For those who are new, I'm just going to quickly revisit the cueing. So you can follow with me and inhale in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, and exhale 2, 3, 4. And then you are inhaling again. So 2, 3, 4. And you can continue in your mind. If you want to use your fingers or your palm or the tops of your hands or any other part of your body to count the seconds, just so you can focus, that's great. For those who want to try the nostrils, you are just taking one hand, the middle three fingers, leaving your pinky and your thumb exposed, and then you can use for the right nostril, your right thumb. That would be mine. If you're on your left hand, you already know what side that is. And you would just alternate doing that breathing. So inhale, hold, exhale, and then you would release it and then move to the other side. We're at the 2 minute mark. I'm going to give us 2 more minutes of this, and then we'll move into the next part. as we're moving into the last 15 seconds here. If you've been really tense, tight, go ahead and roll those shoulders back. Maybe you've had a long day at the computer and you've just been hunched over. Um, Take a moment now as we're ending just to kind of roll the shoulders. If you want to stretch, um, you can, but we just finished, so you can cam back up. Um, we're going to take 2 minutes to set a main intention, and then we're going to set a personal intention for today's class. So this one's pretty easy. We're just setting intentions. I don't think we need to think um, too deeply about it, but we should take a moment to consider. Uh, so now that we've kind of slowed down a bit of our day today, whatever day we had, um, we're going to either pull up a new document or notes if you're on your computer. If you have a pen, paper, pencil, writing utensil, all that stuff. Um, we're just going to take 2 minutes. So the first main intention for us as a class is to understand eco-bricking and cob making and how that relates to the soil. So the relationship of all three, um, the importance, of the soil that we'll be learning about and the conditions. If we can use that, uh, yeah, and the focus around that to be our main intention today as a class. Um, and then I'm going to give you just 1 minute here uh, to do your own personal intention. So if your intention is just to stay awake and present here with us, I think that is a great intention to have. Definitely don't share that out loud. Um, if you have any other sort of like personal intentions or goals, or even mantras that you want to repeat for yourself right now that'll help you get through our time together, bring and welcome that. So I'm just going to give us 1 minute here. Um, you can take your notes starting now. Awesome. So that was 1 minute. Keep these intentions close by, up kind of at the corner. And without further ado, Z is going to take us from here. Thanks, y'all.
Mm. Aw, enjoy your doggy.
Mhm.
I love dogs and animals in general. So, Emmett, no worries at all. Yeah, so I know I haven't seen y'all in a couple weeks, and I know that in the meantime, in our own separate spaces, we've all been thinking about, for me, like with everything going on, times that I've been houseless myself in different ways that I needed community to show up, and thinking about, um, all the different margins that a lot of folks have that are houseless and housing insecure, whether that be being an undocumented farm worker or being in an urbanized space, even, within Vermont, like Burlington or Montpelier, and trying to figure out fast options, especially when winter's here, um, or for the future winters, and what are our options when the ways that we've collectively been doing things haven't been working or haven't been enough because we still have a lot of folks, um, frankly, being murdered by a system that literally leaves them outside. And so I'm gonna play just to give us a little bit of review what Ecobricks is again with some visuals to lead us into the next part that I'll be showing you, and Lavender will be and Ace will be supporting with showing for the next stages after you've made your bricks. So let me do screen sharing. I'm gonna screen share. And if anytime anyone has any questions, thoughts, feelings, please pop them in the chat. I know there's a lot to think about and share today. All right. Let me know if there are any hearing difficulties, like if it's coming through.
Plastics are made from petrochemicals. These chemicals do not fit back into the ecologies around us. Plastics don't biodegrade, they photodegrade. This means that plastics left for years in fields or water will slowly break into smaller and smaller pieces. Eventually, these pieces are so small that they are absorbed by the plants, fishes, and animals that we eat. They reach us, causing diseases of all kinds, birth defects, hormonal imbalances, and even cancer. Even engineered dump sites are not a solution. Whether it is 10 years or 100, these chemicals will eventually seep into the biosphere, affecting our farms and families. Vision Ecobricks are an exciting way that we can take action today to stop pollution and start envisioning a healthier way of living with our environment. When plastics are littered, burned, or dumped, they poison the earth, air, and water. When we save, segregate, and pack plastics into bottles, we can make building blocks that can be reused over and over again. Together, we can build green spaces that enrich our community and environment. See ecobricks.org to get started.
Boop. And then we're gonna play one more, especially so I just want y'all to, I know it can be kind of isolating in Vermont sometimes, and just knowing for me that there are people all over the world working on the same thing in some similar ways, completely for free and housing and caring for each other helps me when things get tough. So here is one more.
Eh, Selamat datang. Kami di Pemalang, Jawa Tengah, Indonesia. Kita melakukan rekrutmen dengan 40 orang yang sangat luar biasa. Kemarin kita sudah presentasi full, kita belajar tentang plastik dan semuanya. Hari ini kita membuat itu. Jadi, kuota kita pakai 600 mili.
Boop, how do I turn? Give me one sec. I just want to, because it's in a different language, I just realized that our closed captions might be covering up the video. Give me just one second to turn that off. Okay, hide and then share again. Thank you for bearing with me.
Mari kita belajar tentang plastik dan semuanya hari ini kita membuat itu. Jadi, botol kita pakai 600 ml, pakai spray bambu, sudah punya saya sendiri, sudah saya pastikan kering, jadi saya pakai alat pengeringkan. Nah, saya sudah punya plastik. Yang pertama, saya mau kasih plastik lembut kresek warna hitam. Saya mulai padatkan. Ini harus lembut dan berwarna, jadi kita punya warna. Dan karena dia punya tekstur, jadi dia bisa masuk-masuk. Ini harus sangat. Sesudah ini, saya mau memasukkan yang kaki, tapi belum dimasukkan, harus digunting dulu. Tidak harus sekecil ini, tapi benar-benar harus digunting. Nah, dia dimasukkan. Lalu gunakan yang plastik kamu atau tebel dan yang sulit atau lembut. Contohnya, sapu tuh yang seperti ini. Yang saset-saset, yang bungkus. Lembut tuh sembarang tas kresek ya. Yang punya kresek atau selopin. Sekarang teknik memakai sticknya. Jadi ini udah lumayan, dia udah halus, udah kaku. Nah, caranya di sampingnya. Ya, ya. Jadi dia hanya terus-menerus di samping. Nah, kalau kayak gini berarti dia masih ada ruangan kosong. Jadi cari yang lembut, tarik ke belakang, bawa ke sana. Nah, jadi contohnya kalau dia kayu atau bambunya masih sampai sini berarti dia masih ada ruang. Jadi yang lembut ini Pak, yang lembut ini didorong ke tempat yang kosong. Nah, oke, berikutnya kalau sudah kira-kira separuh, kita harus timbang dulu karena ada berat minimum kan, 600 mili minimum 200. Kalau bisa lebih bagus. Nah, untuk menghindari nanti udah penuh tapi belum berat, jadi separuhnya ditimbang. Yoshiko mau timbang? Yoshiko, serta dari Jepang, dia timbang, kita memastikan. Oke, ini sudah 100 dan dia separuh, jadi dia bagus. Selanjutnya, ini punya Mbak Endah ya. Oke, kita timbang Mbak ya. Wow, wow, bagus. Ini harusnya sekitar sekian lagi ya. Ini belum dipenuhi ya. Belum, jangan dipenuhi, ya, ini punya Mbak Dia sudah jadi, sudah padat sekali, tinggal yang terakhir sekali. Ini masukkan sini. Nah, oke. Tidak terlalu penuh karena sudah padat. Tutup sekarang. Nah, kenapa tidak penuh? Karena kalau terlalu penuh, dia bisa melepaskan tutupnya. Ketika dipakai, kemudian dia bisa rusak. Sering orang terlalu penuh. Terima kasih ya. Nah, Ibu Rusiti ini sudah selesai. Ini sudah full, sudah diberi nama, sudah ditimbang. Mau logging, Ibu sudah punya akun. Nah, logging itu Ibu nanti jadinya tahu datanya berapa Ecobrick, berapa kilo buat saya. Ya, buat Ibu. Nah, atau Bapak juga. Nah, ini isinya. Nanti jadi kayak ada warnanya apa, mereknya apa, plastiknya dari mana, dasarnya ini, beratnya berapa, macam-macam ya. Terus kalau udah diisi semuanya, nanti berikutnya. Jadi Ibu sekarang isi. Ya, dipilih aja satu-satu. Oke? Nah, kita udah punya serial number. Numbernya udah dimasukkan ke sini ya. Sekarang kita mau foto. Ya, foto, kita selfie. Foto ini penting karena ini bukti eco-breaking. Jadi bahwa itu sudah eco-break tepat. Jangan ada foto. Jadi harus jelas warna dasarnya, bahwa dia memang padat, bersih, dan nomor satu. Harus jelas contoh saya di sana. Ya. Jadi sekarang kita ambil foto ya. Oke, yuk kita ambil foto. Satu, dua,
Yeah, I feel like that was way better than me saying more things that I already said last time. Give you something a little fresher. But yeah, if anyone has any thoughts after seeing our global neighbors do what we talked about last time, more than free to share. Global Ecobricking Alliance, the organization that made those videos, they, I think, have a great place where so many different parts of it are compiled from like so many different cultures all over the world who've used all different sorts of methods. Um, and so after we're done making all the eco bricks, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, what do we do after that, right? So that's what we're going to focus on is literally getting dirty. Um, I'm going to put my hands in some dirt and show you how you can do to be able to use eco bricks as the bricks and then mortar as the cobb. And if you haven't heard of cobb before, the basics are clay, sand, especially river sand works really well, and water. And then once you're done mixing those, you add some hay or some straw. And I have some with me today. So, one of the reasons this is so awesome is because it's ancestral. Communities like mine, in Gunayala, and folks from all over the world have been using these methods long before we had English words to describe them. So, it's great to know that it's not something that is, completely new. It's been done forever and ever and ever, and we can do it too. Why not? So, I know a lot of people might have questions around, I usually hear this directly, especially in Vermont, like how do we keep the plastic from leaching? And the first thing we do is get to know our earth, right? So we're gonna make what we call some soil pancakes. And we're gonna start with this beautiful, as you can see, it's like sticking together clay heavy soil. This was gotten from right here at our no-till organic community farm in Addison County. We have a lot of clay in most of it. I think we found some perlite somewhere else, but what we're looking for is this stuff that even without water yet, when I'm pressing it, it's just sticking together. It's so beautiful. Let me see, how does it smell? Oh, it smells rich and I can smell the moisture. I'm really, if we're looking for something that is to build right, we want it to be local because that's the point. We don't want to harm the environment more. We want to just use local materials, not bringing things in with petrochemical machinery cars and things like that. So a soil pancake is basically you're taking, because this is already so wet, honestly, I don't need to really put much water in it. But what I'm gonna do here is take a little bit of water, add just a little bit. See, it's getting just a tad wetter because we don't want it to be soupy. We want it to stick together. So just for full transparency, we got snowed in basically when the day we were planning on going to get river sand because we do have a wonderful little river that runs through this land, but it's inaccessible right now. And the time for actually building soil pancakes is in the summer because after we mush this together, just pretend that I added some sand and I'll add a little bit more of the clay so that you see it sticking together to make this sort of pancake, right? Because if there's two, I'm skipping ahead actually. So we're making the soil pancake, right? We're just gonna keep adding. Um, on average, a lot of folks start with like five 5 centimeters by 3 centimeters, like wide by long, um, around, and then about I'd say like 2 to 3 centimeters thick. And we're gonna keep just squeezing it until it's a nice thick. I'm gonna make this a little smaller to fit in the camera than it would usually be. But you see how now, even just between two fingers, it is holding up. So it would hold up even better when we have the river sand in the spring and in the summer. So what we do is we would get like a wooden board. If you or if you can't find a wooden board, worst case, a reusable paper bag, maybe from a co-op or something like that, or Shaw's. And you want to do this on a sunny day or a set of a few days where it's going to be sunny and it's not going to rain, because then that would add more water to your soil pancake or your soil burger. Ah, samely. Glad to see schools globally that have collective efforts to build housing for folks. Me too, because we sure need it. And right here, we're right here. We're not even that far. And so once you have built the soil pancake, you have your piece of wood board or a paper bag. You lay it flat somewhere. You want it to be as flat as possible. I know we live in different elevations depending on where you live, but just do your best. And you want it to be in the sun all day. And then I leave it out at night so I can see how it reacts at night. Personally, I like to test it at different times a year. I just start in the summer when there is, the most sun and less rain, especially sadly with the drought collectively being experienced. So we just want to observe and record, right? So if anyone feels free in the chat, just tell me what you're seeing. Like, what do you notice about the texture, about the shape, about how it's sticking together? Oh, you see how when I pushed it there, it kind of crumpled a bit? That means that if it's crumbling, or just fully falling apart, that means that I need probably the sand I'm missing, or more clay. Now, one thing that is nice while you all are noting your observations is that if you take, let's scoot this over, if you, let's say, what if you're like, oh, the clay that is where I am is actually a really hard rock when it's dry. What do I do? So, what is recommended by Global Eco Brick Alliance? And I learned they're one of the main people I learned from, so I also do it this way, is take a jar or a container, whatever you can that's clean, and you fill it with these clay rocks. Fill it with these clay rocks about 3/4 of the way. Fill it about 3/4 of the way in my container. Let's see. This rock is huge. If you want to do a close up, I don't even think this will fit in the jar I have. If you have literal rocks like that, you then take water and just make sure it's fully submerged. I would actually fill it up to about here, about right here. With my disabilities, I'm just not going to get up in this very moment, but imagine there's 1 more inch there. And then I would just let it sit overnight. And in the morning, it should be kind of muddy, kind of like a slurry, a slushy. And then I can add more clay or more soil to that as needed to make sure that, again, I'm making a soil pancake. And you can experiment with different sizes, right? 3 by 5 centimeters wide and long and 2.5 centimeters thick. That's just like a good starting point. But you can double that, triple that. Oh, let me turn the captions back on. Triple that if that is something you feel ready to do. I just always let folks start small. I know this is new to a lot of folks, so just be kind and gracious with yourself. So after we make, let's say we let this sit overnight, right? We've made our soil pancake. That's when we write down again, okay, what's happened? Did it crack? Did it crumble? Did it not fully dry? Is it really wet? Because if it's really wet and it still hasn't dried after a day, 2 days, 3 days, and it's been in the sun, that means it probably has too much like sediment in it. Maybe leaves that are breaking down, twigs that are breaking down. At that point, it'd be great to add some more sand to dry it out a bit or add some more clay. You can try different ratios, right? I usually start with 1 to 1 to 1. So like 1 part sand, 1 part clay, 1 part water, just so it's easy for me to remember. And then I can alter it from there. And this is if I'm starting with like heavy clay, alter it and play around with it as much as you need to until again you make your yummy little soil pancake and you let it sit out on your, if anyone remembers, you're welcome to put in the chat, your cardboard or your paper bag that you saved. Put it out in the sun for a day, 2 days, 3 days. I'm someone who likes to start different samples. So start a sample one day, start another sample with a different ratio in a week. And again, this is me being really ambitious. You don't have to start as fast as me. You can try one a month. You can try one every 2 months, every 3 months. You're just keeping in mind that, you know, we only have so many days of a lot of sun and no rain or snow. So Just something to think about. And I'm going to take a moment there to breathe and see if anyone has any thoughts or questions or feelings. Because I'm just playing with dirt, which is honestly so soothing.
Coincidentally, it's very grounding to, just be like almost in elbow deep in soil.
What is that like for you, Ace? Lee?
I don't know. It's like really like it's really relaxing. Like if anything, I wish I was a worm so I could like be wrapped up in soil beds and just navigating around in like little wormholes.
Yeah, I love that.
Just want to be
Let's see.
blanketed by soil.
Just just bathe in it. Until we are all housed, we can bathe in the clay, in the water, in the river sand. Emmett, I loved making mud pies. I used to garnish them with grass and everything. Yes. So that leads me into the next part, right? Is after, let's say it's a week later, and we have successfully figured out whatever ratio works for the soil that we've got to know, that we've smelled and touched. Yeah, Dakota knows the mud pies and witch's potion. Keona used to tell my grandma to eat them. I love that. And now you can tell your grandma we're building with them this time. We don't have to eat them today. We'll just build. Love a good garnish. Ah, yes. So here, there are a couple different things that folks have used to make what in the US is often in the US and Europe is often called thatch. So after you have figured out your ratio, your mud pie or soil pancake, your witch's potion is doing amazing. It's a week later and you want to do the next step. Something we like to do here at our no-till organic farm is called the chop and drop. So plants, tall stalks that have died, just give them an offering, ask them for permission. I like to sing them a song. And if they're okay with it, give them a clip at the bottom and then let that stuff dry. Uh, it's called hay or straw, but that's just some chop and dropped plants. What's important for the plants that we're looking for is that once they have dried, that you see how it's bending and not breaking. It's bending instead of breaking, and when I'm pulling, um, it's not just completely falling apart. It's still like even when I'm pulling fairly hard, at least parts of it are staying together. Because if we're thinking about building, right, we want the stuff that's sturdy. If it's thin and flat and flaky and coming apart, that's not really what we're looking for. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about that? Get to know your straw. In different parts of the world, they use the outsides of coconuts, like the hairs. Some folks in times of scarcity have used actual human hair. Funny enough, humans and non-humans alike get very creative when we need to find free and fast and accessible ways to house each other and make sure that um, these skills keep going throughout generations because I don't want any of us to think, oh, if we don't get that grant, we can't keep people housed. If that policy doesn't pass, we can't keep people housed. If rich people do something really evil, we can't keep people housed. Like we actually completely can. There are quite a few of us in this room, and I've seen um, kids as young as 8 years old building with these methods, usually about 10, 12, sometimes 30 kids building with these methods alongside maybe, 3 to 5 um, older folks or elders. And we absolutely can build whatever we need. Garden beds, tiny homes, furniture. And I'm going to give us a moment here to just take a break and think about that because I know I've shared a lot in this moment. If that feels good and okay for everybody, give me a heart or something, or shake your brain, shake your mouse. Nice. Okay, cool. So we're going to take 7 minutes if that's okay, and we'll come back at 6:29 p.m. EST. Excited to hear from y'all after if you feel like it. Talk to you in a minute. Welcome, welcome back, everyone. I saw the question in the chat from Rafaela. How did your workshops go? Do you have any upcoming ones? Thanks for asking. And yeah, I will drop those in the chat. We have one coming up on November 15th from 12 to 2 p.m. EST at New Suns Community Center. Is that anybody heard of them before? They're in Thetford. I've never been there before, but I'm excited to go and see the space. It looks like it's like a little cottage in the woods, honestly. And I will drop the links where you can find that right now. I have those. How's everybody feeling? If you want to share maybe one word of how you're feeling before we move, you're more than welcome to while I share this and copy. I love touching soil, so honestly, after that, I feel refreshed. Also, Lee, if you feel called to share, you're more than welcome to come off mute and share. I think we can hear you. You are mute.
Hi.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I personally have a lot more fun doing the plastic eco-bricking, usually because of the repetitiveness of having to push down the plastic is very therapeutic to me. I don't know why it's so anxiety reducing, but just repetitive acts just kind of calm me down a little bit. Um, so that was a lot of fun, a very fun aspect. It's also a great way to introduce myself to other community members as we are community building together and building housing. So it was a great introductory to different forms of community building that finds sustainable solutions for all of us. So I loved it through and through.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I'm really glad to hear, Emmett, that you're feeling hopeful. Um, there are ways through these these very tough times that we've always used. Yeah. Nourished.
Mm, mm.
Mm-hmm.
Great word selection.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Nourished.
mm.
How about you?
The question,
Of just like if you have one word to share about how you're feeling.
mm, reminded,
Mm-hmm.
um, so much of what we've discussed today, kind of follows in a sort of cycle. I was noticing as we were watching the video, when you're stuffing the plastic, the pieces, the hard plastic and the soft plastic, how to mix them, in. They work together and collectively to fill in and harden the sides. And you're just kind of working yourself around in a circle. Um, Not that everything flows in a circle, so explicitly, but you know, for such a small unit of plastic, um, and the different layers and it coming together. Um, yeah, it's just something that I'm reflecting on.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm also feeling reminded and connected. It's wonderful to just feel connected to to folks who are dedicated to just doing things differently, just figuring out ways for us to have the world we want. And then let's see. Before I move on, did anyone else have anything they wanted to share? It's totally cool if you don't. All right. So we're like, what are the next steps after we have successfully made our mud pies and brewed our potions and figured out what soil we have, how much sand and water to add, based on the amount of clay in it, so that it can not crack and not fall apart after being dried. This is when we've also chosen our so-called organic binder. So for us over here, it would be hay or straw. And then the next part would be just to gather enough of your materials to actually make your structure. So you've done your experimenting, and now you're like, okay, I'm sitting and doing the math. Um, that like this is the approximate amount of straw, amount of sand, and amount of clay I need. Sorry, you move past that. The amount of cob that you need and the amount of eco bricks that you need. If you want to put in wood frames, for instance, as well, if you're making a tiny home, how much wood do I need? Do I need nails? Do I need glue? I also share how to make tapioca starch based glue. But that's like for a different session. I try to keep, different parts because I know it's a lot. But I want to at least give you a little bit of an overview of like what the end will look like. So we go outside and we're like, okay, we have all our materials. How do we prepare them? So we want to get an earth soak pit, right? So that we can make everything into a really big batch of cob. And we've already made a really big batch of eco bricks. So if you already have some sort of pit where you live, that's amazing. But if not, you're probably going to have to dig one or ask for support to dig one, like with my disabilities. I currently can't dig without a high amount of pain and risk of injury. So I ask wonderful community members to support with that part, and that's okay. And after you dig out like a big enough pit that, let's say like a 6 foot tall adult can get in and get out of, so you want to dig it pretty deep. And especially if you have, let's say 2 people versus 6 people, you'd want to dig it wider. And then if you have access to it, get like we have asked community for tarps, and we've gotten access to some really huge tarps. So you could take one of those and line your earth soak pit. And inside there, you would combine all the clay that you've gathered, all the sand that you've gathered, all the water that you've gathered, adding it, in parts at a time. And you'd have like I think so many parts of this are really therapeutic for me, even thinking about it. jumping in the pit and slowly mashing. I know not for everybody, but mashing my feet in the cob until it's well combined. And then after you do that and you kind of fill up the pit if that's how much you need, which for us we would because we're really focused on like garden beds and tiny homes. So we do need quite a bit. We would take it and make it into balls about this big. These spheres shaped like the earth, about the size of what you can hold in between your two hands. And we make as many of those as we can. And why? Because when we're actually combining them with the eco bricks to make a wall, for instance, it makes it a lot easier. And I'm going to show you the next part, some photos. Let me share my screen so you can see the next part a little easier. And share, share. So when we're, for instance, building a foundation for after we've done all those parts that I described, right? We stuffed the eco bricks, made sure that they're the right weight and density. We've made our cob by combining our river sand, our water, and our clay. We have dug our beautiful earth pit to do all that. And the next part, just like for what you probably heard before, you dig a foundation for a house. You also want to do that for a garden bed or if you're building some outdoor furniture that you want to stay there. So because I'm using the cementless method, you see how it says dig 10 centimeters? I would actually dig 20 to 50 centimeters deep because I and our farm structure, we refuse to use cement. One, that would probably cost money, and two, it would sure cost the earth and the workers who would be exploited by that creation of it. So we would dig a trench 20 to 50 centimeters deep, and I believe there is right here, non-cement foundation. So you see there's a lot of different shapes. I'll zoom in a little bit more. There's a lot of different shapes that you can choose. The one here in the top left is a lot of people call it like a keyhole. It makes it less accessible to maybe, small children or animals, or at least it's just like a visual barrier. So it's easier to distinguish for folks that might be low sight. And there's a keyhole where you kind of go in, and you can access everything from the middle. There are so many different ways, like we don't use tires, but some people have used that. This is the main method that we would use right here, is where you dig a trench in what shape you'd like, either a circle or a square or a rectangle based on like you and your community's needs, and fill it up with what a lot of Native folks we call grandfather stones or grandparent stones. You want to find ones as big as you can, as old as you can, that aren't cracking. A lot of these have flatter parts on top and bottom, even if they're jagged on the side. So those are like some of the rocks you'd be looking for. To fill this up, you want it to fill, as you might notice, all the way up to ground level, or for some folks, a little bit higher, especially if you're dealing with, like, I know there are people in parts of Vermont where, the 100-year floods have hit. multiple years in a row now, and you might be experiencing more moisture, especially towards the end of the year. So they might have the foundation be even higher. And then after that, uh, let's see, you put a layer of, I talked about those cob balls, and then you mush them. You mush them in there, and then you put a layer of your eco bricks. That's where they finally come in. So I'm gonna show y'all a picture of what that would look like as well, some photos of what that would look like as well. And let me know again, any thoughts, please share. Uh, and then cob balls. Oh, and here's a photo as well of those cob balls. They're so beautiful and they smell so good. And then you see here, you just keep building up layer by layer by layer by layer. And here they took pictures of it with some of it exposed on purpose just so you can see, but the end result, none of it will be exposed in the ways that we're building. It will be completely sequestered, completely put away, completely hidden from heat. Um, and one last video I'm going to show you that is really important is a lot of folks are like, hey, we're in so-called Vermont, for instance, close to the Canadian border. There are wildfires, the climate crisis, fire, as well as severe cold is something that we're all going to have to consider in housing and construction. Because that's really what we're doing, right? You can call it upcycling and crafting, you can call it construction, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be housed and fed at the end. And Lee, if you have any thoughts, especially because I know I feel like you're one of the people I spent the most time with making those bricks and really building that foundation, you're more than welcome to share while I find this video, if you'd like. Or Lavender, anyone too.
Well, I don't have too much commentary. I recall like the few workshops that we did, we made a lot of progress, making a lot of bricks. Um, but this foundation where we can start like building, laying a foundation to build or construct spaces or garden beds. You know, I'm super excited for the construction of garden beds, especially, and seeing what that will look like in view. But yeah, like most of the process was really just building the bricks that I recall doing together. And that in itself has helped with, you know, mm, kind of finding space or meeting new community members who also wanted to grow and build housing together. And like I said, just very therapeutic, very excited to be there. Um, and I'm looking forward to seeing how things go, seeing how everything is laid out in the beginning of this foundation.
And building this foundation. Yes, so I will thank you so much for sharing. Everyone who has shared mentally, physically, emotionally today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this is before I hand it back over to Lavender to close us out. This minute and 30-second video is specifically on like fire safety and conditions around fire for the methods that we just went over together and what it looks like in real time. So check it out. See bottles untouched. Yeah. So being exposed to extreme heat, and as long as they're sequestered, not even terribly deep, honestly, within the cob, they really are locked in and the cob won't even stay on fire. So yeah, we can do this, y'all. Really excited for a future where we all have housing that is safe and that we build together and that we know where the materials come from and that workers weren't exploited to get them and that we did it together.
Hmm. I just want to say, I'm really proud of you all. I'm proud of us. We It took a lot to learn all of this, obviously. I know many of you are learning so much this semester, this year, this moment right now that we're living through, together. The neuroplasticity, or in another way of saying it, the ability of our minds right now to be focused, to digest this information, but I think also to stretch out and maybe question some things, just more of like a critical dive in. So I'll end us kind of in that way. I want to preface it by saying I'm going to try to tie. Wasn't expecting this little amount of time, but I'm going to try to tie some concepts together, and make it very applicable. So I just left Lenape or Lenape, Munse Lenape Hoking, so-called New York. And I just saw yesterday a news article, I think it's one of the top five tallest buildings there. A fairly new building. It's actually, I think, taller than the Empire State Building or just about. It's falling apart, costs multi-millions of dollars, and it essentially shoots all the way up, shoots all the way down. Wind catches it. They tried to build wind tunnels at different points, but it's just pulling it more. Stuff is cracking and falling. And so, like many other parts of the United States, the infrastructure um, is crumbling. It's not being built, nor did it have the intentions of being built to house people for the long term. Um, and so I think, you know, we're digesting a lot here. I think there's a lot to be learned from observation, just looking around us. What is not working? What is clearly not working? We can look at the foundation. We can look at um, the amount of exploitation, uh, the using up of natural resources, the rushing through and not observing or planning properly. Um, it's all around us, whether we live in cities or whether we live furthest from the cities. And so I really want us to think about the future because we will be the ones inheriting this. Um, or we'll be the ones that are choosing to leave this and think of ways right now in this moment to capture this plastic waste, this toxic plastic waste, and utilize it. I'm going to share my screen really quick here. Give me one moment. Thank you. So I am just sharing my screen here really quick. Um, this is a book that you can take a note of. It's called African Fractals. It's by Ron Eglash, um, Eglash, Ron, Ron. Um, I do want us to focus in on a word. So if you have pen and paper, or if you just want to quickly jot something down, the word is recursion. Recursion. All throughout our presentation today, you saw different themes, different circles, different patterns that repeat and follow some sort of a repetition. Many indigenous uh, cultures, and I'll pick Nigerian culture, um, for example, specifically Yoruba culture. And you can also go along with me here. Um, yeah, recursion is this idea of the repetition and there being strength in it. Um, but also resembling fairly simple, maybe drawings, designs, um, many textiles across different indigenous populations around the world. Many textiles bear these different designs, and they can be seen in other aspects of the culture. I'm currently today wearing a caife, and even within that textile and the rich history, not only in just Palestinian backgrounds, it just has this sort of repetition of fishes, fishing, um, the line work, uh, and ways in which it works together uh, to come together and kind of form uh, different clusters, groupings. And so I want us to really drive it home here and just observe what's around us, what's in our rooms, um, what are some textiles or patterns, very simple. Um, you can see here with the fractals, this woman of the African diaspora, her braids, um, their braids uh, form this sort of like repetition. Um, when you couple them together, turn them around in different ways, you can really start to design walls, to design shape, form, structure, protection, um, commune. Uh, you can kind of go through the different things you'll see, especially through the book I just referenced, but you'll see examples of different patterns that maybe you can reflect on. So yeah, I just want to prompt us with that. Um, I think lastly, what would an eco-bricked house look like relative to the approach of recursion? So maybe if we take some time or some more time reflecting over all of this, but kind of using it as we're going through and designing. Um, so really a lot of this is just designing not in a linear form. So not from like start to finish, but more so observing and constantly understanding the ecosystem. And in this particular point, the ecosystem, pun intended, that we are trying to design and incorporate here, and not drive this sort of like wedge between our connection as humans to yeah, how we are greatly impacting this world we live in. That is all I had. I know I just laid a lot on top of a lot that was already laid down. Um, we have given you all so many tools and foundations here. We will, in a coming few days, be spending some time together
Hmm.
in person.
And if you're there in Thetford on the 15th, from 12 to 2 at New Suns Community Center, um, yeah, I've shared the links in the chat, that you can ask more questions. We'll have a lot more materials for hands-on and be together in the same room if that's accessible. And we'll do those throughout the state, throughout the year. So yeah, no, we should have free solar high-speed rail, but that's for another session. Yeah, thank you all for all your kindness and time. And yeah, please feel free to reach out in community, and I hope to see you soon and house more people soon together. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, and let's talk about our diets too. Yeah, honestly, I'm here. All the different parts of our lives that intertwine, right? I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll talk to you soon in another virtual or physical portal somewhere. Yeah, Annabella, take care. Yes,
Thanks, y'all.
yes, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a good night.